Today I wanted to draw something different than usual. And I typically don't use watercolor, but when I saw these online, I fell in love. I love all the pastel colors in here, and I thought that I could do a really pretty botanical drawing and painting using watercolor. And I love using micron pens, but I found these, and these are actually waterproof, and these are micro line pens. And so I think the combination of these along with the watercolors will be really pretty. And I wanted to do botanicals because I love drawing flowers. It's one of my favorite things. Plus we have spring coming up, spring and summer, and it's fun to create things that we can actually decorate our space with. You will need an eraser, and this is just a pink pearl eraser. It's really good for pencil. And I'm going to use a mechanical pencil because I like how tiny the lead is. So I will be using that today. And then we will also need paint brushes. And these are a size 8, a size 4, a size 3, and a size 6. And the brand I am using, it's a very basic brand, and you can find it on Amazon. But you know, it's just a basic kit here. It's called Painter Friend Professional Artist Brush. So that's the brand I'm using. You don't need fancy brushes for watercolor, but you can see the different types I have. You want a fine tip, you want a couple of them that are squared off, and then a rounded brush. So that's what I'll be using today. And then make sure you have a cup of water, and you will need paper towels, and I just take mine and fold them in half. If you want to have a painting tray, you can have that as well. It's also a good idea to have a scrap piece of paper when you're painting so that you can practice on that paper, and that way you can test your colors before you start painting on your final piece. So that's always a good idea. I have some live flowers here with me now, and I actually recommend that you get some live flowers to look at. These are really pretty. And so they're right in front of me, and I'm going to draw them. You can draw my flowers, or you can get your own and draw yours. But at least this tutorial will show you how to draw them and also how to add color. I'm going to start with a carnation type flower, and these are mini carnations. They're really pretty, and they're a pinkish color. And when you are doing flowers, I think it's easier if you start out with basic shapes. And so if you have one tipped to the side, you're going to do an oval, like to show where that flower is, okay? And notice how I didn't do a perfect oval. Like, you can be really loose in your drawing as long as you erase and make sure that you don't see the lines. So draw lightly. This basically just shows the outline of the formation of the flower, and I'm going to build from there. I want to just get the basic shapes of this flower in here. And so here I'm going to do a rectangle. And then what you'll do is you will form the petals from here. And so I have a main petal that comes around, and it's jagged. Make sure you make it jagged like this. And then come down. And then we can't finish that line because we are going to have so many different layers, but you can see this jagged line here. And then on the outside, we have a petal that comes out about right here, and I'll connect it with that oval shape. And then it has some little ridges here. And then it comes down like that. And then on the inside, we're going to start layering. And so here's another petal that I'm starting here, and then you do a straight line down like this, and you can see that there's just little layers. And at this point, we can start a petal down here and come up and down and in like this. That almost looks like a wave or a mountain. And then I'm going to erase this line here and bring this one up. And then you can connect that petal, and then I'm going to keep layering and going around. So I'm going to do another one right here. And then on the outside, you can bring a petal up and around right here, and then have it come down. Another one back here, have it fold in, and then come in and down. And then come up, do another jagged edge, and then you can turn, do a petal here that comes down, have this come up, another line here, and you see how that's starting to look like a carnation? That's what we are going for. And I'm not going to shade yet. We will shade with the watercolor and possibly the pen. You can do some cross hatching if you want, but for now we're just keeping it really simple. And at this point you need to round at the base of the flower, and there's a layer of green, a lighter green at the base, and from here we're going to add where the stem meets with the base, and then you come down right here. You have a cute little stem stalk right here. You have little leaves that come up like this. And you can see that it looks like a flower. Really pretty, really simple. And I'm not going to do the stem all the way down because I think I want to layer my flowers so that some are in front of others, but at least we have the beginning of the stem showing right here, and you can just leave it for a minute. And next to it we have a bloom that hasn't opened up yet, and so I want to draw that in, and that's obviously much easier, but it's basically a teardrop shape. So I'll come up like this in the shape of a tear or a raindrop, and you'll have a line that comes down, and that's where the flower will open up. And then you have the base. So we're going to draw a little base right here. Okay, and then it does widen a little bit right here and here. And you can kind of see a little bit of a leafy looking thing right here. So draw that in, and then you will have your stem coming down right here. And then we have those cute leafy things that come out on both sides. And then you can go in and erase the lines inside. And now you have an open bloom and a closed bloom. And do you see how that just helps with the design? It's really pretty to add that. And so what I'm going to do now that I think will help to structure where everything goes, I just wanted to show you how a shape evolves into the flower itself. And now I can go in and decide what my other flowers will do. And so I have one up here. So I'm going to draw another oval right here. And then another closed bloom right here. And another big flower right here. I'll do another big oval like this. And again, don't make the ovals perfect. They don't have to be. So don't stress out if you're like, it looks like a rock, an uneven rock. It's okay. It can look like a rock. And then back here, I have another closed bloom. And I really like the closed blooms. I just think it really adds to the design. So make sure you add those. And with the basic shapes, go ahead and add the base of the flowers like I was doing. just to get that design in there so you can see how it will look. If you wanted to, you could even draw just one of the lines of the stem so you can see how that design will look in the end. This one will connect with that one. And let's see, we have this one that comes down behind here, cross down, go down like that. And then we do have a big, beautiful lily that's right in here that would actually add to this bouquet. So in this bouquet, we also have a big lily, and it really adds to the formation of our bouquet. So let's go ahead and draw that in there. And to do that, you're going to do a great big bunny ear. I think that's the best I can describe it. And then down here we have a little bit of foreshortening going on. And when you foreshorten, basically a key to doing that is you start with the point of the flower like this, and we are going to do a curvy upside down triangle like this. And then from there, to foreshorten, we are going to continue this line and go downward and just disappear like this. And then on this side, what's cool is we're going to see how this one continues down like this. So draw a line underneath that funky triangle that we did, and then go down, and then come up, meet up with that outer edge. And notice how it's a petal that's coming forward and curling. And so what we did here is foreshortening, so you're not going to see a big giant spread out bunny ear shape. You're going to see one that comes up and then curls under, and that's foreshortening. And then over here, we want to do another big bloom, but this one is a little bit hidden, and it's going to be a squished bunny ear or sideways bunny ear. So we are going to draw a line that comes down like this and goes in. Because we're showing the outside of that petal, we are going to draw a line right here that comes down like this. And are you seeing the lily? It's a giant lily. It's really pretty, but it's big. And so we're going to draw that in there. Okay, and then from there, we will do a little petal that's back here. And this one curves like a wave, comes down like this. And then we're going to draw a line that connects it right here. And I might actually straighten that out just a little bit. So I'm going to go like this. And that's another petal that's back behind. And then right here, we're going to do another petal. And this one, we're going to do a sideways triangle right here because we have another foreshortening thing happening. And this one really bends and curls in different directions. So draw this shape first. It also looks like maybe a profile of a goose. And then right here you will curve down and then come back up. And see how it shows that it's curled under, and you're seeing the underside of that petal. So there's some really cool tricks you can do when you're drawing. And then this one we're going to continue down like this. And this line will come down straight and then follow downward like that. Okay, then you have the filament that comes up and basically hold the pollen at the end. And so I'm going to draw those. And at the end we have the pollen. And so I'm going to draw a few of those in here. Looks Looks like we have 5 in here, so we will draw those in. Let's do another anther right here. Comes down. Line that comes down back behind. And another one here that's huge. And these almost look like the shape of a banana. So if that helps when you're drawing. We have another one right here. And you can go over the lines that you've already drawn because we can erase, so that's not a big deal. And look at that pretty lily just tucked up in there. There's also another petal that, actually there's 2 of them, but one comes up to the side of this petal and it does the same thing. You do that triangular shape. We're doing it upside down. We're going to curve at the end and come up like this. And then you can see the base of that petal right here. And then from there, there's another big giant petal that comes up. And it's really cute because it goes up like this and it curls. And to do the curl, I want you to do a curvy line like this, do a straight line right here. I want you to curl that around, another straight line here, curl that one around to meet up with this one. Okay, and see how you see that loop right there? And right here you will do a tiny triangle like this. And so here you have a lily that's basically in the process of opening up. So really pretty. It looks very natural. It has good composition with the other flowers that we're doing. And so now that we have that big lily established, we can continue drawing the formation of the other flowers. And another thing about lilies is they have big leaves. And so what we'll do is, let's fatten that base up a little bit right here. You are going to continue that stem down and off the page. And I didn't do it smack dab in the middle. I kind of curved it a little bit. Right here, we are going to do another mini carnation. So let's have that be another big oval right here. And another one back here. And a tiny one that comes out right here. And I'm doing a circle for that one since it's still a baby. And then over here, I have a tulip that comes up. And so we're going to do a really pretty tulip, but I'm going to do a big giant oval right here to show where that is. Another open tulip right here, but I'm going to do a couple of shapes. I'm going to do an oval because this one has opened up and it's dropping some of its petals. So I'll do an oval there, one here, and then another kind of rounded rectangle right here. And that shows where that one is. And then another carnation here. We need to establish where these stems go down. And so this one I'm going to have come and meet up with the lily. Tulips have really pretty long, skinny leaves. And then the lilies in the background have giant leaves, and I'm going to have one come up behind right here and just show itself back behind, and then curve right here. And then another one that comes up and back down. Okay, and I'm doing that foreshortening again. And you see how this composition now works? The one other thing that I think will help is there is a filler plant back here, and it branches out, and so it comes up and it just has these little branches that open up like this. And then it almost looks like pine needles, but I'm just going to go in and on each one of these lines, you are going to do a few others like this. And see how that just balances things out. Okay, so I have another lily that comes down, and it's just a couple of petals that you can see, but one comes down right here, and I really think that would add to the composition. So it curls under like this, and there's a straight line under here. And then we're going to do another curve here. It goes back, and then the side of the lily does this. Okay, so it's curving in all different directions, and then it goes back like that. And then there's a big petal back here. That squares off, and then it has some ridges, and then goes back. And that one does a cute little curve right here. And then on this side, as we fill in the carnations, we will also have the stems that come down to fill in those empty spaces. And so you can see it's now coming together and looking really nice. We can also fill in with a few more leaves down in here, and it will look really pretty. So I'm going to put it on time lapse while I do the rest of the carnations, then we'll go over the tulips. I got all of the carnations done, and now we can do the tulips. And I want you to do a little shape like this right here at the top, and from that shape you are going to draw almost like a heart right here and here, and then we're going to have an outer petal that does this, and it has little ridges, and it's going to come down to the side and then bulge out right here and then go straight up like this. And then you erase the line inside right here. And then we'll do a line that goes down. And then on the other side, we will go up right here and then curve up, come around, and curve down. Okay, and then come down like this. So it looks like it's wrapping around, and then right here you'll do a triangular shape with ridges. It goes down and then come up, and you can see like the lip of that petal as it curves inward. And then around this part, I'm going to connect and make another line that goes down here, another one that goes down there, and there you have your tulip shape. And you can even draw some straight lines that show some texture like this. And then on the side, You don't have to do much because you don't want to get carried away. So there's one tulip, and any extra lines you can go in and just erase and lighten up, because we do have to go over all of these flowers with pen. So you want everything to just be really simple. If there are any smudges from the pencil, just take your eraser and erase those. Now come down to this tulip, and we're going to do some more foreshortening. So I want you to do like the beginning of a heart or a seagull shape like this, and then another little groove right there, and then come down on this side, and then we're going to draw a line that meets up right here. Okay, and that's a petal that opened up here, and then on the sides we have another one that comes up like this, and then one on the side like that, and then one up here. And then erase the extra lines. This one you want to do a straight line right here, and then up here you are going to do a line that goes around like this, and then we want to do some jagged edges on the tip right there. So you can see that that's a petal that's falling away, and you'll erase that line. You don't need that line. And then over here, same thing, that petal is falling away. And it's good to have imperfect flowers. It actually makes it look so much more natural than if everything was just so perfect. Okay, I'm going to bring this in, narrow it at the end, erase the extra lines. And everything is looking balanced, so it really looks nice. Down here we need to add a few more bigger leaves just to hide the ends of those stems. Right here we want to bring that lily petal down, so we're going to come down like this, and then that little flower can just peek up from behind. And we also want to do a line that comes down through the center of that petal. We'll actually do a double line like this that disappears. Actually, I want to continue it down. Okay. And then over here, same thing, we want to do another line that comes up and make a parallel line next to it like this. Come down. And then I want to do big leaf right here for the tulip. And I like to come in and do a wavy line for a tulip like this, because their leaves tend to curl, so that looks really nice. And if you want, you can add a few more of these. I like that it's a filler plant in the background. So I would suggest coming down here, and you can just have it poke out down at the bottom. And again, it's like little pine needles. And when you get done and you have done all of the pen, we can take the eraser and go back over everything once it's outlined and dry. You want to get rid of any smudge marks. I can see a few in here, but we can get rid of those, so don't panic. I have another leaf that comes up right here. Let's draw a line right in the middle. I think I'll do one more that comes up right here and then just curls like this. I'm going to draw a line right across there, come down like that, and do another little sprig of this plant right here. And back here, let's do a green leaf that comes up like this. And we can show the inside of it right here. And over here, let's do one more little bud. So we can have a cute little bud right here. Draw a line down the middle and connect it right here. We want to draw a line here on this petal. Do two lines, so one here and one here, where the groove is, like at the center of the groove, right there and there. And we can do another stem right in here. And I think we're ready to outline. I might actually curl this one a little bit. I think it would look better if we maybe went this direction like this. You can even do a cute little leaf right here. And I think we're ready. I actually like how this looks. Oh, you can see the inside of the tulip right here. And so there's almost a star shape. I'll make sure we get that drawn in so you can see it. And then some pollen. So, and then maybe on this one, we could do a couple of little leaves here and here. So let's start outlining. With the pens, you want to do okay, that's too big. Don't do size 30. So you want to look at all the different sizes, and I think will be more like a size 5. And this one, let's test it out. So that's what that one looks like. You could even go slightly smaller and do a 4. That one looks nice too. So take either size 4 or size 5, and I want you to outline the entire thing. So you're just tracing everything that you've done already. When we're all finished, I will show you how to add color, and that will be the fun part. So now that I have the contour sketch done and the pen drawing, you can either leave it like this or you can do watercolor. So if you love it how it is and you want to frame it, it actually looks really good. And that's actually a really pretty decor look right now that's pretty popular on Pinterest. But I would suggest doing the next step, which is the watercolor. And that's the fun part. So just erase all of your lines from the pencil that's left over because the pen is not going anywhere. And so just take your eraser, go over everything, make sure you don't have any shavings, and then I can show you how to start the color with the watercolor. I am going to start painting the carnations. And in this particular set that I have, there's several pinks here. There's a potter's pink, a coral pink, a pale pink, and there's even alizarin crimson. And then also, I like this pea green, and so I'll be using that too. But I'm going to show you how to do one of the carnations first, and then I'll put it on time lapse and do all of them, and then I'll show you the lily and the leaves, and then also the tulips. A couple of techniques. Always dip your brush in the water first, and then you want to apply to the paint and get it a little bit wet. I would suggest using the lighter pink first, and then you can work the other colors in there. But you're just going to go in to the petals like this and get the lighter pink first, and then down inside, that's where you can get a little bit darker. And so I'm going to dip my brush in the water, wipe it on the paper towel, dip again in the water, and then go into the coral pink. And then if your brush is too wet, just wipe it on the paper towel again. And then you want to come down in these shadow areas and just get a little bit darker. And so anytime there's a petal that overlaps another petal, the petal underneath needs to be slightly darker. And so the petals on the outside, a little bit lighter. And also you can go to the edges, and you can also darken the edges because that gives it a really pretty effect. You can even do some lines coming down. And then for the extra dark areas, clean your brush off, get it wet again, dip it in the potter's pink, and you can go down inside an area like this and get a little bit darker. And you can just keep experimenting, because I would even go as dark as the Venetian red. And so I'm going to dip into the Venetian red and then come down and get really dark. And then you have a nice shadow. And if you want, you can go and shade all the dark areas so that you can see where they are. And that makes it easier when you paint the lighter colors. Okay, so we have some dark areas, and now I'm going to get that lighter pink again, so the pale pink, and it's number 18, and just make sure you have enough moisture in the paint. And I really like how thick this paint is, by the way. Regular watercolors just feel like there's no pigment. That's kind of why I haven't loved using watercolors in the past. I just don't like that the pigment is so watered down. But these are actually amazing. So if you want to shade a little bit, if your dark is still wet, you can pull the dark up into the lighter pink, and you have this beautiful blend going on. And so you want to really work fast when your paint is applied so that you can take advantage of that wet paint. It makes such a difference if it's still wet. But just blend the colors into each other, and then it's not too dark in the shaded areas. It's a little bit lighter. And then dip into that coral pink again, because we want to get a blend of other colors in there. And the cool thing is it kind of looks like a coloring book, honestly. But you have all your lines there to guide you. So I'm just going back and forth between the 3 shades. And then I want you to rinse your brush completely, clean it off, and then get it wet again, and then go into that pea green. And we are going to take that green and lightly go into the shaded areas that are darker and just add a hint of that green in there. And then at the very tips, I want you to take that alizarin crimson and you are going to accentuate the lines at the top and have them come down, because carnations, they have a really pretty rigid outer petal. And if you darken that, it really emphasizes it. And then you can take that light pink again, so the pale pink, and just finish off all of your petals that haven't been painted yet using that pale pink. And you can leave some white from behind showing if you want. That's up to you. So there's the carnation, and then I'll show you how to do the green underneath on the base of the flower. And what I would do with this is start once again with the lighter green, so the pea green, and paint all of it the same color. Make sure you dip and then dab, so dip in your water and then dab on the paper towel just to get some moisture off of there. You don't want it to be too wet where it's dripping. So while it's wet, I want you to dip again, wipe on your paper towel, and then go into this ivy green. And with the ivy green, you'll come down on this side and do some striping. And then right underneath the flower, to make it look really good, I want you to dip into the green gray and do a dark shadow underneath. And you can do the same thing where you do some lines that come down. And then over here we have a leaf that comes up right here. So I want to make a little triangle. And by adding that shadow, it just makes it stand out even more. And then on the stem, I might as well show you the stem too. You will take this same color that you have on your brush and go up and underneath that bud. I want you to shade right here. And then you have a little strip of white that you'll get a lighter green. So I would clean your brush off, go into that pea green again, and do the light green right here. And again, you're showing that you have a highlight and a shadow, and it just makes that stand out even more. And then another technique, if you want your petals to stand out even more than they do, I mean, right now they stand out pretty good, but you can take that Venetian red and darken just a little bit more underneath a couple of those petals if you really want a contrast. That's entirely up to you. If you want it to be lighter, you can do it lighter, but this does look really nice. And there's your carnation. So I'm going to put all of these on time lapse, and then we'll start the lily, and then after the lily we'll do the tulips. When you get your carnations done, then start this little plant back in here. I thought I would get that done before we go into the lily and the two tulips. So with that one, it has kind of a rusty color to the leaf, to the stalk, and to all the leaves. And so you want to start with that light green again. And you will go part of the way up with that light green. And then down toward the base, you will do that rust color. So it's called Mars Yellow. You go up. And you blend it into that green. And see how you just get this gradual fading right here. That's what you want. And you can even add more of that rust up here at the top. And then on these stems, just continue with that color. And then the leaves are really easy. You can do a dark green and a light green and a medium green, just alternate between all of them. So just go in and we'll just take turns with the different greens. You can even do that lighter green on some of them. And the ivy green is really pretty. That's your medium green. Okay, so do the same thing down here, and then after that on time lapse, I think we should probably get the dark green leaves done behind the lilies so it stands out a little bit better. And I'm probably going to add just a little bit of a dark green back here too. To make that lily stand out, we've got to have the dark greens behind. So I'm going to take the green gray and right behind here, we want to darken right next to that lily leaf, or I should say lily petal. Okay, and then we can do a little bit more on this side to make that stand out. So again, I'm using the green gray, and this will really help those petals stand out on the lily. And then that leaf continues up here, and so you will be really dark right up against the flower. Just here at the base of the leaf up here. And then we're going to get a little bit lighter as we go up. And then you can keep this line dark. But while it's still wet, you want to take this ivy green and blend that into the green gray. And then at the very tip, you want to stay light up here. And be really dark right along here. But I do like how this watercolor, it blends easily and it just isn't washed out. Like it looks like it has really good pigment. So I'm just blending down here. So we have a gradual fade. So you have a nice gradient. Back behind, we can do a smaller leaf. It doesn't have to be super big, but I'm going to do a line right here and have it curve right there, and then have it go back behind that petal. And that way this petal stands out. It doesn't look like just another leaf. It actually will make the white stand out. And then take that lighter green, the ivy green, and continue downward. You can do this with other watercolors too, but I am telling you, these are so much better. Okay, you can even take the pea green, get lighter in here. So you can see now the lily, it's starting to stand out. And it looks like we have another, that's a lily as well back here, so we don't want to mess with that one. But this is definitely a green leaf. So let's do another dark leaf back here. So I'll put it on time lapse for that one. To paint the lily, I actually have these metallic paints, and there's a really pretty opal violet and a white gold, and then also this pearl lemon yellow and a light gold, and we can use these to make the petals on the lily stand out. And it's not a bad idea to test your colors if you haven't used them before on a piece of paper. And so I just want to take a look at what that opal violet does when I apply it on the paper. You can see that it looks transparent. And when we add the white gold that's a little more shimmery, you can see it has a little bit of a sparkle to it. And the idea is we want to be able to blend other colors into it. And so really pretty blue shadow in there. And so I just want to see how the blue would blend into the white. Can you see how it softens? So that's what we want. And we can also do that with a gray. And so let's test out the opal violet again. And then I want to get a gray and see if I can get that same effect. And so I'm going to take this gem gray. And this is exactly what we want. We really want to be able to blend into that white and have this subtle fade. And so that's perfect. So you'll want to have your scrap piece of paper for that reason, so that you can experiment and test things before you get started. So let's go ahead and get started on the lily petals. We want to go ahead and start painting that opal violet. And so I'm going to go in here and just start painting that entire area right here with the opal violet. And I know it looks like I'm not doing anything because you can't really see the color, white on white. And I would say only do one side and then do the other side so that it doesn't dry. And right now I'm using my number 8 brush. It's a little bit bigger, it's the rounded brush. I'm going to come all the way down in this area right here. So you've got that color, and then we can do it down in here as well, because that's where the darkest area of the lily is. And then I want it to look a little more green, so I'm going to go to the pea green up here, and I'm going to fade up into the white. I have a really pretty gradient going upward. Same thing over here. And see how that just gives it depth down in there. And then we can also go over here and do the same thing. So just come on the left side right here. You want to be to the left of the pollen and come up. And then I haven't painted the white here or here yet, so I'm just going to work up here. So now we can go into a creamish color. There's one that's called Ecru Beige. And that will be my next color moving upward. And then if you see this line right here, I'm going to paint a little bit to the left of that line. And then down in the very center, you can actually do a darker gray. So I'm going to do that gem black. And get really dark right here. I want that shadow to be nice and deep. Contrast is very important when you are painting. When you have the lights and the darks contrasting well against each other, it just makes things look more lifelike. And watercolor, you can get super realistic, but for the most part, it's kind of a playful paint, I think. And when you want to get really realistic, I think the acrylics and oils are better for that. But the watercolors are fun. They're light, they're airy, they're easy. And I think if you're a beginner, it's a great way to start so that you can get used to paint. Now I'm going to take this pale aqua and I'm going to come down and add some blue right along here. And again, I'm not going to leave it this bold. I will blend some white into it. I want to do the same thing over here. Okay, and now we will go down to the white gold. And go over the blue so that we can fade it out so that it's not quite so intense. You can also use that opal violet to go in there and lighten things. And see how I'm coloring with my paintbrush? That helps to blend the paint together. So I'm blending the white into the blue. And then I want to take a beige gray and I'll go in and make that blue just a little less blue by adding the gray. And again, I'm not leaving it like that. I just want to get the paint on there and then take the opal violet and blend it in. So now I'm pushing that opal violet into that gray color. And same thing over here. So take the white again and just push upward. And we're just building our colors. We're making everything look layered. Okay, and then we can do a little more white down in here. Okay, and we will add some more in here once we see how everything looks as we start to paint the pollen and the different parts of the flower. So let's get a light green. And I want you to paint inside of each of these. And we can even get this pearl May green. I like that it has some metallic in it. And go back over those areas to lighten it up a little bit. We can even add some yellow. So let's get the pearl lemon yellow. And go over it one more time. See how pretty that color is. And then as we go up, we just continue all the way up to the pollen. You can add some more green in here. After that, we will dip into the white gold. And it has a little bit of color to it, and so I'm just doing these lines going up. So you can see the lines of the petal. You can even take the white, the opal violet white, and come down here. And just add some lines. Okay, so now let's do the pollen so that you know how to do each of those, and then I'll explain the rest of this petal, and then I'll put these others on time lapse and you can watch. I might need to explain down here a little bit because there's a lot of shading in that area, but for the pods I want you to do a base color of Mars yellow. And just paint each one of those with that color. It's a really nice, rich color. That's so satisfying. I don't know why, but I love the contrast. It's a very rich color, that's for sure. Okay, so right now it looks just flat. So we need to add some darker colors, and I'm going to dip into the Venetian red. I'm going to go up the left side of that one and then the middle of this one. Make sure your brush isn't too wet. Mine's a little bit wet. And then around there and through here and through here. Okay. And you can even take your brush, and I want to get a lighter color, so let's do this red gold. And use that red gold to maybe emphasize the highlight on this one. I got that one too wet. So when that happens, you just pull the water away and then wipe your brush. Do you see how that lightened that up? So don't worry if that happens, it's easy to fix. I'm going to take that red gold and go over here. Highlight a little bit there. And then to really make it stand out, I'm going to take the shadow green and I'm going to go at the base and just darken each one of those pollen pods. And then I'm going to take the Venetian red again and just blend that into that shadow so you don't just see green. Okay, and then let's get that rust color again, that Mars yellow, and just blend it even more. Okay, so each of those look textured. They have multiple colors. That's exactly what you want. And then we want to paint the center of this line pure white. So use the opal violet, go all the way up. And then on the other side, that's where we'll have the gem black shadow. And so just take that gem black, go all the way up. And then down here, and then let's do some lines right here. I really want to emphasize those. So with that same gem black, just do some pretty lines that go up. We can even come over here and do some lines. You don't want them to be too pronounced, so just take that white and smooth over each one of those. Makes it look a little bit better, more natural. So I'm just blending the base in between those lines, and then I'm going to get a lot of white and come up to the top and blend up here as well. And then you can also take the white and go up along the edge and lighten things up along there. Okay, and then I'm going to take my ivy green and right underneath here, underneath that pollen, just doing a tiny little shadow. not very big. Same thing with under here. Whenever you have a big object over another one, you will have a shadow. So you just want to show that. Okay, so I'm going to do these other petals on time lapse so that you can see, and you want to just play with it. Like, you can be lighter in some areas because there will be shadows on the petals, especially against white. If you see a flower against a white surface, you're going to see a lot of shading. And so wherever it's white, it will appear more grayish, but then like right here, it looks more white next to the dark. So just keep that in mind, and I will continue each of those. So before I get any further down here, I want to show you the greens that we're going to add, because at the base of the lily, it's green and gray. So I want you to just take your light green, the pea green, and come up on both sides. And then add some yellow. So the pearl lemon yellow is really good. And then you want to add white. So I did blue underneath here. So I did the gray, the grayish brown, some blue, and now a white. And that white will blend the two together. And it softens everything so it's not too harsh. And do the same thing over here. And then paint white on this petal. Where your paint is still wet, you can add a couple of lines. And so I'm going to take a line that goes up. Make sure your brush isn't too wet. I'm going to do it on both sides. And over here as well. And anytime it gets too wet, you can just go back in with a white and it helps to soften and blend. So don't worry. Okay, and then this one you want to keep really white. And so I'm going to get solid opal violet on this one. And then it has one little line that comes down right along here. We can emphasize that a little more with the beige gray. Okay, and then I darken that line a little bit more. I need to do a shadow right here on the left side of that black line. And then up in here, you'll have a shadow. When you do the shadows against the light areas like this, it just makes the white stand out better. And it looks like we have a little shadow right here. Doing that one with the blue. And then get more white and come up right along here. Okay, and where that's curling under, you can get darker back in there. I forgot to do a stem right here. It meets up with my flower above. So just adding that in. Okay, so for that shadow, you want it to be up in here. I'm going to do a line because that line continues right here. And so you just want to follow that flow. You can have the line down here. And then on either side, if we do that light green, it looks really nice in the shadow. And then dip your brush in the opal violet. Paint the top up here of the petal. Okay, and I want some blue and some white right here. And right here. So I'm just blending that shadow, making it look like it's underneath. And blend this shadow. And then let's get a little bit darker right in here. Yeah, those shadows become pretty important when you're trying to curl a petal and show underneath. Like, you've got to have those shadows in place. This one, let's add some blue so it's not quite so boring. So it is interesting how many colors are in white. So white is never just white, and by adding these colors it just emphasizes everything. We have right here the dark leaf back behind, so I want to add that in so that it makes that petal stand out a little bit more. And it is kind of fun when you have the outline in pen. It is like you're coloring in a coloring book. It just makes it feel like that. Even though it's not. You drew the outline, but it's easier when you're trying to stay in the lines and all of that. I will paint those really quick. And then all we have left are the two tulips and the leaves and the stems of the tulips. So I'll put it on time lapse really quick. For the tulips, they are going to be white and pink, and we still want to do a white base like we did with the lilies. And so you will go in there and just do all white, and it's kind of that pearly color. So you'll see just a little bit of a shimmer. Okay, and then the tips are this beautiful pale pink, and we're going to use a couple of pinks, but I want to start with the pale pink. So get your little brush, which is the 3, so obviously it's the fine tip one, and you will go up here and paint some pink just up toward the top, because down here it stays white. So I'm just going to take my brush and go along the top here. And then underneath where the shadows are, that's where you can go to this pearl pink that's a little bit darker, and the shadow underneath is going to be darker. And then you can even do some little lines because it has some striping lines. So gently with that fine tip, you will get some lines in there. And then to soften it, you can take that white again and emphasize this line on the edge. And then we are going to add some more pale pink on this side. And we will also do it right in the center right here. So right here and here, it stays white. I'm actually going to bring the pink all the way over to the edge of the petal and around right here. I'm actually going to go right here too. Okay. And then get that pearl pink again. And the pearl pink will shade right here. And right here. I'm actually going to darken that line right along there. And then take the pale pink and also paint on this side right here. And then on the inside, you are going to alternate between the pale pink, the white, and the pearl pink. So basically just pick where you want to stripe the pinks. Okay, and then I'm going to get that pearl pink and do the same thing. And then to soften, you just go in again with your white gold or your opal violet or both, and just start softening everything. So you can do that scribble effect, and it just blends everything beautifully. Makes it look a little more natural. Okay, and then you can even take this gem pink and add some deeper, darker shadows in a couple of areas. There's also that alizarin crimson that's nice. So I might go in here and add some alizarin crimson, just so I can get a deeper contrast. And then blend everything together, make it look nice and blended. And then if you want to do some stripes over here, you can. And then to make it look a little more realistic, there is a hint of green at the base, like barely. So you can add some green. The stem on these are a little bit lighter than the stems on the mini carnations, and so you can do that really pretty pea green right here. And then the ivy green can be over here as a shadow. And I might take that coral pink and fade right here just a little bit. So there's your tulip. And I'm going to do this tulip inside. Just watch where I add some yellow because you can see the pollen. And then the leaves are really easy. They're just like these leaves, but they're a lighter green. And so I'm going to put it on time lapse, just follow along, do the same thing, and then we will be done. I really love how this turned out, and I put it in a natural wood frame. I think that when you finish it off with something nice like this, it just looks really good for decor in your home. Hang it on the wall, put it on a shelf next to your spring decor, and it just looks amazing. Also, if you want this particular frame, I will have the link in my description, as well as the links for the paint that I bought. I love the watercolor paint, and I want you to be able to have access to that exact brand. And I will also have good paintbrushes for you. So just go to my description, click on those links, and you will be all set. Thank you, friends, for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed the project as much as I did. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share with your friends for more fun videos to come. I'll see you next time.